Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to this site, which accompanies a public lecture which I'm giving on March the 15th at 5 p.m. in Dublin time, called Generating Momentum Towards Inclusion Across Campuses, Using Universal Design for Learning to Create a Common Discourse. This is a public lecture which is hosted by Trinity College Dublin and which forms parts of the Darcy McGee Bacon Fellowship, which I've been awarded by the Ireland Canada University Foundation. First of all, I'd like to do a language acknowledgement and acknowledge that I live and work and play on the ancestral lands of the Lekwungen and Kusopson families in British Columbia, Western Canada. I also want to acknowledge that it's tremendously important for the teaching and learning within any educational institution to acknowledge the importance of the ways of knowing and the ways of being and the ways of doing of Indigenous communities. This work has begun, certainly for World Roads, where I work, but I think it is important also for us collectively to acknowledge that there's a lot of work yet to be done, and particularly in terms of implementing and addressing the Truth and Reconciliation Commission recommendations. We have done but a few steps, and that there's an awful lot of work still to be generated in this area. I also, since you're joining us from various places remotely in this COVID era, I also encourage you to acknowledge individually the ancestral lands and the communities and families that have used them since ancestral times, if you are joining us from a country or jurisdictions where there have been Indigenous people present before colonization. I'd also like to thank the Ireland Canada University Foundation for awarding me the fellowship. I'm extremely touched by the fact that I received this fellowship. I have done a lot of work with universal design in Ireland, having been keynote several times at the Ahead conference, but also having done some work on, for example, the UDL EdChat on Twitter. Also working with Joanna Banks on a series of podcasts, which will now be turned into a book. I also organized the third Pan-Canadian Conference on Universal Design in Victoria in 2019, and we were very fortunate to have many Irish colleagues join us for that experience. I'm also currently editing a book, a series of case studies on UDL in higher education, and I'm extremely pleased to say that there's several Irish authors that have joined us for that book, and that will be released in April. So the work I've done in Ireland regarding UDL has been very important for me. I very early on seen a lot of synchronicity between the work being done in Canada and the work being done in Ireland. It is rare to find countries that have very similar experiences at very similar times. And that has always encouraged me to continue that collaboration. And I hope this fellowship allows me to do much more work between the two countries with respect to inclusion and universal design. The purpose of this website is really to accompany the lecture. The lecture only lasts 45 minutes. There's only so much we'll be able to cover. So I'm very keen as well to model the UDL principles and to offer participants many other ways of connecting with me. I will certainly be active on Twitter before, during, and after the conference. I'm obviously more than happy to continue these conversations virtually by email, but I also think that it's always important for participants to have another support when they listen to a public lecture, and hopefully this website will serve that purpose and address those needs. And so you will find on there a sort of written expansion of the main themes of my public lecture, which will take place on March 15th. And I will combine that with certain audio segments like this one, for example. And although because of the time frame, this has been very, very quick to be announced and be organized, I won't be able to have this captioned by Monday, but there will be a transcript which will follow each of the videos as well for the purpose of providing full accessibility. So I hope you find this useful, and do please engage with me if you are interested in continuing those discussions around any of the themes of the lecture.